Look, I thought the conversation tonight was really fascinating, particularly on some of those economic issues, and I think probably some of you agree, particularly the intergenerational questions I find really interesting. Now, I know you asked a question. What did you make of the answers that you got? Did you feel satisfied?
I did feel satisfied. I thought the answers were generally in line with what I was expecting them to be. So yeah, I was satisfied with the answers that I got for my question.
Were you surprised by anything you heard tonight?
Honestly, no, not particularly. I was about online from everyone that answered what I was expecting. I would have been interested also to hear the Assistant Treasurer's thoughts as well. But apart from that, I was very satisfied with everyone's answers. Were online with what I was thinking.
And yet, our conversation about interest rates and about what's contributing to inflation, I personally found it really fascinating to hear Keith Wallahan say what he did about, you know, profits contributing, because that's been a really big debating point, whether that's actually part of the story or not. I see you furiously nodding, so I'm coming to you. That's what happens when you nod too much. Someone's going to come to you. Were you surprised to hear that there was a bit of unity on what's contributing to our inflation problem?
Yeah, there was certainly lots of agreement going on, and yeah, no combativeness. You know, there was no combat between anyone on the panel. Lots of furious agreement.
There was a few moments where Sally McManus got all Sally McManus, I did think, and I thought she's being her full Sally McManus self. I am going to ask you, what did you make of the conversation around inflation interest rates?
Well, thanks, Patricia. Look, it's nice to see people agreeing for a change. I mean, there's a lot of division in politics, and it's nice to see a panel actually agreeing and not dissenting and not getting into tremendous arguments. It's just wonderful.
Yeah, the other part of the conversation, so that's the economic part, because we had two parts of the conversation tonight, right? There was big economic discussion, but we also had a big conversation. Of course, I'm coming back there, don't worry. I'm not preferencing the people in the front row seats, the nosebleed seats as it's known, if you go to a gig like I used to in my youth. But the conversation around war crimes and the alleged war crimes that, of course, haven't been subjected to a criminal process yet, but either way, there has been a defamation case and big discussion. And what I found really interesting was that there was a really strong position taken by all people in that discussion about where to take that. Yeah, I'm looking at you. Yeah. What did you think of the way that they handled the issues around war and Australia's responsibilities in the international theatre?
I was confused that there was an agreement on the panel that there was such a huge difference between criminal liability and like the balance of probabilities. Like, I understand that there is a huge difference in the amount of evidence needed, but it seems like probably didn't require that huge amount of evidence to award those medals in the first place. So it's unclear why we would now like require a far higher burden to take them away. I don't know.
Yeah, because that's about the... And then the other part, of course, is in relation to the War Memorial and that exhibit, and there seemed to be an agreement that... In fact, the poll was interesting tonight, actually, the results of the poll. What is your take on the way that you represent that sort of event in that kind of space?
I probably wouldn't personally be a huge fan of still memorialising Ben Roberts-Smith at the War Memorial.
The other thing there was furious agreement on, although no one wanted to be the one to refer the case because politicians know that it's not a good look, but is, of course, PwC and the potential of PwC to be looked at by the Federal Integrity NAC, as it's called, which I'll get used to that acronym on July 1 when it begins. That's really interesting. I mean, the National Integrity Commission is going to, of course, be quite a pivotal moment to see what sorts of things they look at. I'm looking at you now. Yeah, it's you. Well, I spoke... yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. What do you think of the idea of the NAC?
I don't know enough about it.
Okay. Yeah. Does anyone? Get this. Instead of just hot micing you, put your hand up if you've got strong opinions about PwC. Oh, Look at that.
I just think it's ridiculous. Sally said she was happy to report them. So that's great. I think they need to, you know. And secondly, I think you're great. Keep it up.
I love you too. And that is the best part of my evening. No, but honestly, it was though. The idea of PwC going before the integrity body, I suppose there's a lot of jobs for the integrity body to do. Do you think that should be a priority?
I can't believe it's not already happening. This has happened for 2 years. Like, it's our money, it's our integrity, and it's our wages. And it's absolute theft by corporate. And the government has sat back and just allowed it to happen.
Federal Police are now investigating, obviously, that. And can I say, we've got no one here suggesting anyone does any clapping. You've got your absolute organic clap there because are you all in? I know you've come together. Are you in furious agreement?
Yes, I agree. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
And are you excited about the idea of the NAC doing some of this work? I mean, we haven't had a national integrity body.
We should have one. Yes.
And as long as it is done, and as long as it's not hidden, because this has been hidden for 2 years, and it should have already been out.
What a fantastic group of people you've all been. Does anybody, before I bid you farewell, the night is getting on, have something that you'd really like to share about the night, or some observation you have about the conversation that you would like to share? Excellent. Let me come over. You did ask a question tonight with your midnight oil top.
Yep, that's kind of what I wanted to follow up on, because I kind of think my question was kind of evaded somewhat.
Yes.
Yep. Like especially in regards to like with the Labor Party, like as even like so far this year there has been like I think 2 definitely, maybe 4 or 5 bands with like ties to nationalist socialist groups in Europe and America have been given work visas to tour the country, and that doesn't seem to be part of the discussion, which why not, basically.
So there's a double standard in your view?
I think they're just sort of aiming at they're going for the low-hanging fruit. They're taking the easy things that can be attacked and the stuff that's actually a heck of a lot more socially dangerous being completely ignored because it's probably much less popular.
One more hand was up before to round out the night. And thank you for being such a great audience on this public holiday. What is it, the first ever King's birthday holiday? We've spent it together.
If there's so much agreement from both sides of politics and nearly all of our states on one party, why can't they get their heads together and do something for the good of the country and actually reduce their fiscal debt? 100 times more fiscal debt than what we had in the GFC, and they're sitting there patting each other on the back. Give me a break.